You shouldn't believe everything you see on the internet, which is why today I've rounded up some of the most viral TikTok life hacks to test whether or not they actually work. From color-changing sodas and fruits to potato power and Nutella's big secret, let's put TikTok to the test. We all love snow, and if you don't, well, you're probably old, miserable, or all of the above, which is exactly why I don't like snow. Still, if you desire some DIY snow, this TikTok life hack is for you.
All we need is some salt, some sugar, and water. So we're just gonna pour some salt, just like that. Then we're gonna pour some sugar. And then we just pour some water, and supposedly it's supposed to make snow. So let's try it out. 3, 2. Is it working? Oh my god!
Seems sus, right? So I began mixing the concoction. Yep, that's right. There was no flurry of snow, only a plate full of sweet and salty water. Now, logically, this makes perfect sense given that both salt and sugar dissolve in water, so hardly the forecast for a snowstorm. Not only that, but if you look closely, it's pretty clear that the guy in the original video used some kind of instant snow powder, misleading us all for the sake of views. Real shocker to learn people lie on the internet, right? Eggs. There are countless ways to have them. Fried, poached, scrambled, boiled, or as seen in this next TikTok hack, levitating. Yep, as this clip suggests, you can make an egg magically levitate just by placing it upright under a flowing stream of water. Of course, I was initially skeptical, but stranger things have happened in physics, right? Could this be some strange side effect of surface tension or the unfathomable forces of flowing fluids? I had to know, so I gave it a whirl, and well, it went about as well as you would imagine. Yeah, would not recommend. And as helpfully proven by another TikToker, all this really takes is a thin piece of string tied between your faucet and egg, filmed from an angle that renders the thread invisible. Nothing but trickery here, folks. I also came across another hack which claims if you spray an egg with deodorant, it will, by some divine intervention, transform into a bouncy egg. Yeah, my expectations were low for this one. However, in the name of content, I did as I was told and doused my egg in enough spray to rival a teenage boy, though it seemed no amount could make my egg bounce, as it inevitably cracked. Considering rubber eggs are easy to acquire and a small price to pay for 5 minutes of TikTok fame, I think we all know what's really going on in those clips. Yes, that's right, actual, provable witchcraft. My eggy endeavor was not over yet, though, as another hack suggested that covering an egg in toothpaste for 24 hours would not only make it squidgy and stretchy, but translucent too. Jaded by my previous experience, I wasn't exactly hopeful that this would work. And well,
24 hours later.
it didn't work. That is, the egg remained fully solid and crackable, albeit with a minty fresh aroma. Yum. You know, it's almost impressive the way people come up with new ways to lie online. Almost. Alright, now who's in the mood for a cool science experiment? Well, boy, oh boy, do I have the one for you. And all you need is some styrofoam and nail polish remover. Yep, according to this TikTok hack, when you place styrofoam and nail polish remover, it melts away right before your eyes like magic. Or rather turns into a gloopy pile of slop, but still pretty cool, huh? Putting it to the test, I got my hands on some styrofoam balls, nail polish remover, and got to experimenting. Would you believe it? Something from TikTok actually works. This certainly scratched something in my brain, but what's actually going on here? Well, put simply, nail polish remover, aka acetone, breaks the bonds between the chains of molecules that give styrofoam or polystyrene its solid form. This allows the air trapped within the foam to escape, reducing its volume enormously and letting it dissolve into a liquid, or to quote-unquote melt. Moving on, though, and Coca-Cola's blackest tar shade is part of what makes it so recognizable. While this distinctive hue is a product of the Coke's caramel food coloring, there's a TikTok hack that can apparently turn Coke completely transparent. According to the hack, it's as simple as dissolving a spoonful of vitamin C powder in some Coke, and as you can see, it turns as clear as water. My interest was piqued, so I grabbed some Coke, vitamin C powder, and got to mixing. Now, if I pause the clip just here, you'll see a naively innocent man unaware of the disaster that is about to occur. Editor, please resume. Must I relive my trauma? Yep, like Mentos in a Coke, the vitamin C did nothing but cause an uncontrollably fizzy explosion. Of all the times I've been tricked, this was the trickiest. But what's the science here? Well, interestingly, it's actually not a chemical reaction, but a physical reaction. Coke, being a carbonated beverage, contains a lot of dissolved gas that wants to form bubbles or fizz, but needs a surface to form on. The microscopic surface of a reactive adversary of Coke, be it vitamin C powder or the more classic Mentos, is quite jagged and uneven, which makes them an excellent site for forming a rapid explosion of bubbles. A similar reaction happens if you add sand to Coke. So, to cut a long story short, it was the rough texture of the vitamin C powder's molecules, alongside the additional CO2 released as the powder began to dissolve, that caused the Coke to explode. As for the original TikTok clip, what seems more likely is that it wasn't actually Coke in the bottle, but iodine mixed with water. But simply, if vitamin C or another antioxidant is added to iodine, it will cause bonded pairs of iodine molecules to split up, resulting in a color change to transparency. I mean, just check out this TikTok clip where even just a skin product containing vitamin C actually managed to turn iodine clear. See? Cool. Honest, TikToks are possible. But on the topic of bubbling reactions, here's another little TikTok trick. If you pour a layer of oil over Coke and then plop in a few Mentos, you can create your own mini lava lamp display. So I gave it a try. Refreshingly, it actually works. Due to oil and water refusing to mix, the oil forms a barrier through which the carbon dioxide bubbles can force their way to the surface, providing more resistance than cola or air, and hence taking on a much calmer lava lamp-like motion. All the fun of the fizz without the mess. Looking at you, vitamin C hack. Let's keep things gaseous now with this next hack, which claims by the power of science you can pop a balloon without even touching it. Yep, just by cutting a bit of peel from an orange and squeezing it over an inflated balloon can apparently cause the balloon to explode. To my disappointment, it didn't work for me. But surprisingly, I actually don't think this is a case of misleading TikTok deception. Having done the research, science fully backs up the hack. You see, orange peel contains a compound known as limonene, which is able to dissolve rubber, and all it takes is one small hole for a balloon to pop. That being said, limonene has a harder time dissolving rubber compounds that are strengthened like vulcanized rubber, so it's possible my balloons were made of a tougher material. Or the small Satsuma I used was just a loser, pathetically incapable of producing enough limonene on command. Either way, my disappointment is palpable. Be amazed, be sad. Alas, we move on to the next, and I have another cool balloon hack here for you. As you just saw, with a water balloon, electrical tape, and a quick stabbing, the water flows out so seamlessly that it literally looks like it's frozen. It's so satisfying, how could I not give it a try? With a water-filled balloon, I got to taping up that bad boy and gave it a little prick. Yeah, things got completely out of hand. Failure aside, if there are any wet t-shirt contests happening, I think I could stand a good chance. Seriously though, while I failed, if my wonderful editor would kindly slow down my footage, we can see that the brief, overly thick flow from the excessively large split in the balloon actually did have a nice smooth glassy quality to it. If the hole had just been smaller, I'm inclined to believe the flow would have been stable enough to look frozen, so I won't write this one off. Moving on, did you know you can create your own custom shade of Fanta? At least according to this next hack. Just by adding some toothpaste to the orange soda and shaking it up, it will cause it to magically change different colors. Oh wait, what? You know what? I'm not even gonna ask. Let's just get on with it. As you can see, I equipped myself with some very fancy European Fanta and toothpaste, and I got to shaking. Shake as I might though, I was completely shocked to find that the toothpaste didn't turn my Fanta into a color-changing light. All I need to say here is, notice how the orange hue of the light reflected off our TikToker pal at Savage's bottle doesn't change when the liquid inside does? Yeah, that's because he color shifted the hue of the soda in editing software, but neglected the finer details. And you know what, editor? Please make my Fanta change color too. There we go. Am I TikTok worthy yet? You can let me know over on TikTok under my handle, Be Amazed Media. Up next, melons come in all different varieties, but one melon you won't see on the store shelves is a blue melon. Well, be prepared to be astonished, as this hack claims that if you fill a watermelon with blue soda, it will transform the melon into a radiant hue of blue. Okay, I'm gonna start by admitting to a blunder with this one. Seeing this blue Fanta, I assumed the soda itself was actually blue, but in fact it was just the bottle. The soda was actually clear. Damn you, Fanta! So to no one's surprise, that didn't turn my melon blue. But I refuse to be defeated by my own idiocy. To know for sure, I got some legitimately blue soda, filmed my pal Big D cutting another hole into a watermelon, pouring the soda in, letting it rest, pouring out the soda, and cutting to piece. Big freaking surprise, it was not blue. Shocker, I know. But I could have told you this right at the start if I wasn't so committed. Because there's the very obvious fact that we can quite clearly see the blue color edited video masking overlapping the edge of the melon skin in this guy's video. Utter baloney. But you want to know what really grinds my gears? When you're at a restaurant and they give you a tiny foil packet of butter that is usually rock solid. Then when you try to butter your toast, it just tumbles around the bread in one solid piece and doesn't spread. Well, courtesy of TikTok, I have the solution. It's simple, really. All you need to do is stab the butter with your fork, creating 4 holes in the foil. Then squeeze the butter and watch as it effortlessly strings out like spaghetti. As you can see from my recreation, it does indeed work, but it's mainly only beneficial if you warm the butter up a little in your hands beforehand to soften it. With that, the butter is now way more spreadable and will evenly glide along the bread. Similarly, another annoying scenario we've all found ourselves in is when you're pouring soda and you have to stop to wait for the fizzing to stop. Well, TikTok has just the hack up its sleeves. According to this TikTok, instead of tilting the bottle over the glass to pour, you should actually just hold the bottle fully upside down, which allows the Coke to chug out fizz-free. It seems genuine, but let's see how well it works. Works pretty well, right? I'll definitely be using this one from now on to rein in that unruly fizz. Next up, according to this TikTok, if you put any kind of gelatin-based candy jellies into water for an extended period of time, they will grow up to an alleged 300% in size. Now, admittedly, I'm not sure how useful this life hack would be, but nonetheless, with my favorite candies in hand, Haribos, I left them to stew in the water for a few hours. And when I returned, well, it was clear to see they'd grown considerably. Be that as it may, they'd also become very delicate and mushy, meaning they weren't the most appetizing. This process occurs in gelatin-based candies as the water molecules can seep into the intermolecular spaces in the gelatin, causing it to swell. So the candies might have been bigger, but not necessarily better, proving yet again that size doesn't matter. You hear that, Sarah? I'm sorry about that. Let's move on. Sticking with the sweet treats, and who doesn't love Nutella? Heck, I sometimes eat it by the spoonful. We've all been there, which is why this next hack could be particularly useful. According to the video, Nutella jars allegedly have a secret compartment in the lid containing a mini plastic knife that can be used for all your Nutella opening and scooping needs. When I saw this, I thought, no way. So I just had to try it. My excavating proved fruitless. While there was indeed a cardboard disc, presumably to help form a seal for freshness, the lid beneath it was empty, like my hopes and dreams. There are countless examples of people claiming to find this little lid knife online, but I was reassured to find I wasn't just missing out. Nutella officials have officially debunked the claim, exposing yet another blatant TikTok lie. These guys never get tired of BS, huh? Frustration aside, we must continue. When I came across this next hack, I got pretty excited. Apparently, if you bash a pineapple about and then roll it with some force, you can then pull perfectly bite-sized segments from the pineapple without the need to actually chop it up. I mean, if this works, it could be a real game changer. Well, after twisting the top off, I bashed and rolled and bashed a bit more and rolled again, but no matter what, it just didn't work. Now, it's possible I had an underripe pineapple, but given that if we slow down our TikTokers footage, we can see that the PC Grabs offers no resistance at all, I'm going to assume this is another scoop of baloney. On to the next, and when your street's power suddenly goes out, it's only a matter of time until your phone battery dies and you're left in true darkness, in the company of your own thoughts. Truly terrifying. So it's just as well that I have a potentially life-saving hack here that claims you can charge your phone using potatoes. The claim is that if you join 2 potatoes, buy a coin, and then plug a charger into one of the potatoes, it will then, by the power of potato, charge your phone. I mean, given that outside of being food, potatoes cannot generate usable electrical energy on their own, I wasn't exactly brimming with confidence. But I'm here to prove liars wrong if nothing else, so I went ahead and tried it anyway, and shockingly, it didn't work. It's a somewhat common misconception that potatoes can produce electricity. The truth is, they're just excellent conductors of electricity. In a science fair style potato battery, they serve as a conductor of current between sources of copper and zinc, and you need a lot of them in series to even illuminate a tiny LED. A single potato battery generates about 0.5 volts and 0.2 milliamps of electricity at best. So to power a 5 volt, 2 amp phone charger, you need around 100,000 potatoes. See, at least we learned something here. Still, unfortunately, potato power is not going to be charging your phone anytime soon. In a similar vein, another TikTok assures that you can also charge your phone with just a watermelon, Coke, and Mentos. Anyway, because I'm nothing if not committed to the bit, I went ahead and cut a specifically heart-shaped hole into the melon, filled it with Coke and a few Mentos, and watched with bated breath as I plugged in my phone charger. To absolutely no one's surprise, it didn't work. Which is a shame because, I don't know about you, but I'm constantly finding myself with no electricity while conveniently in possession of a watermelon, Coke, and Mentos. Staying on the crazy electrical side of TikTok, so how many times have you wished that you could make a battery-powered vortex tornado in your glass of water? Yeah, I've never wished for that either. However, in the name of content, I decided to give this hack a whirl. Pun fully intended. Dang it! Yep, no mega awesome super spiral water vortex here, I'm afraid. Just a glass of water and a sad, disappointed man. Most likely, the TikTok's results are simply the product of stirring up the water beforehand, getting a good spiraling going using something like a milk frother, placing the batteries before playing the whole damn thing in reverse, as demonstrated here by YouTuber Experiment by Ankit. Thanks, Ankit. Now, before we all despair about these constant lies, here's something legit. When you receive a package that has your name and address on it, it's usually best to peel it off before disposing of it to protect your personal data. That can be tedious though, so here's a TikTok hack for speediness, if you'll excuse the original poster's excessive text and terrible camera angles. All you need is some perfume, and with a few sprays, the ink and all your precious information will disappear. Now that's pretty neat, right? This happens because high-proof alcohol, like the ethanol found in perfume, can dissolve alcohol-based ink, making it easy to remove. But I can totally understand if you don't want to waste all your expensive perfume on this, so here's another hack for you. Just use your mom's. Rolling onward now, and it's fair to say balls can be pretty awkward. I mean, imagine you bought someone a soccer ball as a gift. How on earth are you going to wrap it without it looking like a complete and utter train wreck? Well, here's how. As TikToker Claire Williams skillfully demonstrated, start by measuring the amount of paper needed to fit the ball. You then want to do a few folds, like so, to create a bag from the paper. With that done, you can roll the ball in and then fold the excess paper and tape it in the center to create a fan design. Now granted, mine didn't turn out quite as aesthetic as the one in the TikTok video, but I put that down to not cutting enough paper, and being of the male species. Point is, this is definitely a hack worth having in your back pocket should you have any balls you're struggling to bag. Speaking of struggling to manage these days, we live in a world of constant stimulation. Using our phones, TV, computers, all the while doing basic daily tasks such as eating and cleaning, it's no surprise that our hands might often be full. However, coming up is a hack that means you can scroll your phone cruise control style. Important to note, this particular method only applies to iPhones. As demonstrated by TikToker Ellie Awesome Tech, you can scroll using only your voice.
Swipe up.
And it legit works too. To unlock this feature, simply go into your settings, find accessibility, and then activate voice control. Once done, tap Customize Commands and choose the Custom option. You can choose whatever word or phrase you want, but for this, I'm going to go with Swipe. After that, you want to go ahead and click Action, and then run Custom Gesture. In order to create a hands-free scroll action, simply swipe up. Having done all that, you're now ready to save, sit back, shout your chosen word at your phone, and enjoy some hands-free scrolling. Meaning you can enjoy TikTok doom scrolling while stuffing your face. Haha, sounds like the perfect Saturday night. Speaking of nifty iPhone hacks, with scammers and frauds becoming an ever-increasing threat, cyber safety has never been more important. Which is why, after seeing a video from TikToker Tech Hack Guy, I urge anyone with an iPhone to dial *#21#. When you call this secret code, it'll bring up a page which shows your call settings. All settings should be marked as disabled. However, if any are marked as enabled, it could mean that your calls are being forwarded somewhere else, in which case you should contact your provider to resolve the issue immediately. Anyone feeling the paranoid urge to check this right now? Moving on to something less serious now, if you cast your mind back to around 2017, you may remember how slime was suddenly all the rage. And while it was available to buy at all good retailers, this next hack claims that you can make slime with just soda and school glue. Following the hack, I tipped out a bit of the soda, squeezed in some glue, and got shaken. Shake as I might though, it didn't exactly seem to be taking on a slime-like consistency. Ultimately, I had no luck. And unless there's some glue physics the wider world isn't aware of, the soda would only dilute the stickiness of the glue, making it very unlikely that this hack would actually result in slime. If you do want to make slime though, you can use school glue, bicarbonate of soda, and contact lens cleaning solution. No need to add Fanta for flavor, folks. Yet another sticky internet craze of recent times is frozen honey, which gives it a thick and chewy consistency. However, this next hack suggests doing it with corn syrup and soda, which, while it looks like it could be a guaranteed trip to the dentist, does look pretty delicious. So let's give it a try. Having the palate of a 13-year-old boy, I chose to use some Prime energy drink. Mixed it with my corn syrup and left it to freeze. Only problem being I may have left it to freeze a little too long. Like a whole week too long? Okay, sue me, I forgot about it, alright? Now, I'm not entirely sure if I left too much soda in my mixture or the light corn syrup I used had too much water content, or if the amount of freezing time affected the outcome, but as you can see, mine was frozen solid. No amount of squeezing was about to change that. That being said, using a slightly less extreme freeze, this hack should work for both honey and corn syrup. As the water content in both gloopy substances is much lower than standard water or soda, their freezing temperature is lower, with honey, for example, only freezing solid at -60 Fahrenheit. So while I can't visually confirm this one, the science can. I'll leave it up to you guys to have some fun, freeze some honey, and enjoy the results. Better yet, film it and send it through to stories@beamaze.com for the chance of a future shout-out. But just remember, in most other cases, as we've learned pretty thoroughly today, don't believe anything you see on TikTok. Let me know down in the comments if you've learned any actual useful life hacks from TikTok, or alternatively the most outrageous lie you've seen on there. And as always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.